when I was calling a game. I was calling Iowa at Maryland. It was her senior year. I was staying at the hotel just across from campus at Maryland. And I remember I was coming down like 2 to 3 hours before the game to go get the car to drive over to the stadium. I'm coming down the escalator and the lobby is packed, like packed. And I'm like, what the heck? Then you see all the Caitlin Clark jerseys and all these things. And I'm like, this is on the road.
Yeah.
In DC. No lie, to go a half mile, it took me 45 minutes because they sold out Maryland's arena for an away game.
That was Coach White. What's up, Fever Nation? That was head coach White when she was in the booth working. She said it was Caitlin Clark's senior year, okay? So she's already getting a taste of what it's going to look like. She was working the game as an announcer. So she's leaving her hotel room to head to the game early. She comes downstairs and the lobby is packed. You heard her say it herself. Lobby is packed. Took her 45 minutes to drive a half a mile. Think about that. Process that for a second. 45 minutes to drive a half a mile. Now, she's the head coach. Now, do you think for a moment, sitting there watching Caitlin Clark playing, do you think, does it seem to you that she was thinking, wow, I wonder what it would be like to coach her? Wow, I wonder if I could coach her up. And I have to ask rhetorically, you white apologists, I have to ask, what player in her history of coaching has she coached up? Who is she? What's her name? Have they ever done an interview? Have they ever went on a podcast and said unequivocally, Stephanie White is the reason I became a better player? Let's listen to this post-game speech. In my mind, it's one of the most diabolical you're going to ever hear. The first half is going to be a unifying message for the team. Then the second half is going to be so divisive, it's alarming. It tells me that it's time for Steph to step away from the game. She's overwhelmed. She's not. This generation and the coverage, social media, and everything surrounding this generational talent is too much for her. And it was probably too much for Christy Sides. And I don't want to get into the who fired who, because as you heard Dan Dawkins bring up that Caitlin Clark got Coach Sides fired. That's not true. Kelly Croscott made that call. Was there ever a memo or anything where Caitlin went to Kelly? Now, Dockage says, and of course, he got the inside track. It sounds like Lynn Dunn is pushing all these buttons. Lynn Dunn. I want y'all to remember that name. Lynn Dunn is pushing all of these buttons behind the scenes. There is no evidence to ever show that Caitlin Clark had anything to do with Christy Sides being fired. And here's another thing to stick in your peace pipe. Does Caitlin seem like that kind of person to you, to go to the front office and demand a coach being removed? Does that seem like Caitlin Clark to you? I rest my case.
All right, y'all. Woo! Really good job. Okay, really good job. We weathered the storms. Okay, we came together. Y'all, I heard you more in huddles and in timeouts than I've heard you all year long. That matters. That matters, right? The collective positivity, the collective accountability, talking each other up, that is huge, y'all. Yes, we are closing that thing. We are closing that fist right here. But I'm so proud of the way that you came together, the way that you fought in that fourth quarter and those runs, the way that we came together going into overtime, coming together and finishing this game. Yes. All right, great job. That we grew today. Yep. We grew today. I'm proud of you guys. AB career high 34 points. second chance points. Okay, again, a lot of really good stuff. And most importantly, we stacked today and we got better.
Fever Nation, both of my parents were coaches. Now, my mother coached but a lot long before I was born. Okay, so I never got to see her in action. But I saw my father in action. So I appreciate good coaching when they're teaching you not just the technical aspect and skill of the sport, but the life skill as well. What does it say about a coach who can't even articulate, who can't even let her best player enjoy a moment? This is sad. Stephanie White intentionally left out the most important piece of this night's win. AB and Caitlin Clark was the first team duo to score 30 points and either, in AB's case, rebounds, double, 30 points, double digit in rebounds, and Caitlin Clark, 30 points, double digits in assists. The first duo to do the first team duo to ever do this in a WNBA game. And you know they're celebrating the history of the W. This is 30 years of the W. It's never happened. It's never happened. And notice the common denominator. Do not miss the common denominator. It's Caitlin Clark. It's Caitlin Clark, Fever Nation. It's Caitlin Clark. All of these records are synonymous. Now, I'm not saying others aren't breaking records, but the most recent ones that keep falling are synonymous with where she is. The people around her are better players because of her. And that's the hallmark difference between a great athlete and a great player. A great athlete is who he is or she is. A great player is who he or she is and makes those around them better. Remember Dawn Staley's speech that she gave about Caitlin? She says, well, she's going to score 30, but we can't allow her to have 12 assists. We got to give up to 30. We tried to do everything we can do to stop her from scoring 30. That's not going to happen. She's the first player, and Dawn Staley admitted that, the first player to ever score 30 on her South Carolina teams more than once. More than once. So she made up in her mind, let's slow down her making the assists. If she scores 30 and then has 12 assists, that could produce an L for us. And that's how they were able to overcome Iowa the second time they played them. Now, back to Stephanie White. How could you leave out this young lady's accomplishment? She didn't even want to mention it because it would bring up Caitlin Clark. How diabolical is that? And if you think for a moment the other people in that locker room didn't pick up on that, you're being delusional. Stephanie White has some soul searching to do. I don't know what's going on in her life personally, and I don't need to know. But her coaching life is lacking egregiously. She can't even pause for a moment to recognize an accomplishment. This was the first Stephanie White played in a W. No one has ever done this. And like I said earlier, what's the common denominator? That irks Stephanie White to no end. The envy and jealousy of Stephanie White for Caitlin Clark is so glaring. It's alarming. It is alarming. She cannot even bring herself in an interview, in a post-game presser, to talk eloquently about Caitlin Clark like she does any other player on this roster. Whenever Caitlin Clark is asked a question. Watch her facial expressions and the gyrations she starts to go through facially as she prepares to answer the question. Even before the person finishes asking the question, she's already going through facial expressions. You know, all of that, because it just irks her. I thought you weren't supposed to ask me that question. You're going off script. You're not supposed to ask me anything about Kate. Remember that interview where one of the reporters said, one of these people said, "Oh, I'm not going to ask you any questions about Caitlin Clark." And she smiled and said, "Thank you." Really, Stephanie White? You can't look past this moment to give this young lady her flowers? You didn't even give AB her flowers because the two of them did it together, and that would bring up Caitlin Clark. This is sad, Fever Nation. This is a front office, Amber Cox, Kelly Croscott, Lynn Dunn. I know you pushing buttons behind the scenes. It's time for her to step away. It may be, Lynn, it's time for you to step away as well, too. You are beyond this generation. This behavioral complex you have that you brought up in that interview with on that show, on that podcast you did with those other notable coaches. The times have passed, Lynn. You're way beyond your era. That may have worked in 2012. Those generations of kids that may have worked with. That's not going to work. That's not going to be a winning formula. Look at what it's doing to your head coach. Look at what she's doing to the locker room. Listen to that speech again. You and her sit down there and listen to that speech, and you all look at yourselves at the end and ask yourselves, is this the environment that's going to produce a championship? You have the player. You got the best player in the game. She doesn't need great players around her. Iowa didn't have great players. They were just a close-knit, unified team, and that's all she needs. Caitlin Clark has more talent around her than she's ever had since she has been playing basketball. The most talent around her. She doesn't need superstars around her to win. She just needs a coach that understands that she understands the game as well as she does. And that irks Stephanie White the most. Caitlin Clark understands the game as well as she does. And I dare say Caitlin Clark has probably forgot more basketball than White has ever remembered. That's not throwing shade. She wants to coach this young lady so bad. She wants to try and coach this young lady. If you're going to come at a player this knowledgeable, you're going to have to come correct. This is not being arrogant. This is not being a diva. This is not being a dockage. And I can't believe you used that word D. And yo, with that bald head of yours and them glasses, you look like a D with glasses. But moving on. If you're going to come at a player this magnitude, you're going to have to understand the game as well as she does. And I know that irks Stephanie White to the nth degree. Think about this as you listen to that, Fever Nation. Think about that post-game presser. She intentionally left out Caitlin Clark. That's sad. You all need to fix this, front office. And if the front office doesn't have the capacity to do it, Herb, Steve, Simon, I know y'all look like y'all on some type of weekend at Bernie's because nobody's watching the store right now. Nobody. And it's sad because you're about to waste a generational talent. You are about to waste an opportunity to finally earn actual revenues for a WNBA team and a WNBA organization and possibly a WNBA league with these TV revenues. The TV revenues are designed to pay all the bills, operational costs, overhead, everything, including player contracts. Concessions in our tickets and jersey sales are all profit. When the TV deals cover all operational costs. y'all gonna blow this deal because one person on this team, well, your front office and head coach have an open disdain for a generational talent that you all drafted. You all drafted. You can't say you didn't know it was gonna come out like this. You can't. If you say that, then you didn't have the foresight and wisdom that we thought you had. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. You all have a blessed day. I am out.